joining us on Let's Talk Tobago, where we tell you about the plans and initiatives of the Tobago House of Assembly and the impact that these have on you. I'm Colleen Holder, and this week we're coming to you from the Milford Esplanade in Scarborough. In our stories this week, Chief Secretary Orville London clears the air on the contentious Bolt issue. India's government encourages medicinal plant development in Tobago. Another first for the island as a 3D model of Tobago is built. Young professionals look to making themselves more marketable, and Tutor takes a stand for teachers.
Right. I'm from Mariah. The name of the business is The REID Aerobics Club, Wellness and Fitness Center. I want to open a spin club because I realized spin is the in thing now. And she said to me that she knows somebody working at the office at Glen Road. And it was shocking to me to see how quick I got through. Now that I have the 5 and people hearing about the spin here, phone calls, there's people that call me, want to come, go, get the information and just apply.
Redefining business, protecting Tobago's heritage.
What do India and Tobago have in common? A variety of medicinal plants. That's what India's Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Gandhi Selvan, revealed when he visited THA representatives to hold discussions on the development of medicinal plant research. Omadara Mills reports that establishing healing centers on the island was also on the agenda.
The Medicinal Board of India and the Department of Ayush are willing to collaborate with the THA in the area of traditional medicine. India's Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Gandhi Selvan, said that the areas include researching local knowledge about medicinal plants on the island, identifying active ingredients, practicing sustainable harvesting, and training local persons in the area of traditional medicine.
National Medicinal Plants Board of India and the Department of Ayush would be happy to collaborate and cooperate in providing technical know-how and expertise for sustainable development of medicinal plants in this country.
His Excellency Mele Mishra pointed out some of the benefits of medicinal plant development for Tobago.
It can largely benefit the people of Tobago because these medicines are affordable, they are accessible, they are easily digestible. They are all nature-based medicines. They do not conflict with other systems of medicine. So in India, it is a very old practice. It's come down for thousands of years to India and so well tested and tried.
Secretary of Health and Social Services Claudia Groom-Duke stated that this collaboration in medicine will help in the THA's vision towards a healthier Tobago.
Your major interest in plants, your major interest in research in medicinal plants, and this is a new area for us. And of course, we have been planning this for a long time within the system. We are also integrating our primary health care services out there in the community, mobilizing all of our people to move towards a healthier Tobago.
A tour of the new Scarborough Hospital was also on the Indian delegation's schedule, where they viewed the radiology department, the dispensary unit, and operating rooms. Before leaving, His Excellency Mele Mishra suggested that the THA can also seek to develop wellness tourism on the island.
Tobago could be an ideal ground for developing a wellness tourism resort where we can even have healing centers where that will add to your tourism to the country and to Tobago in particular.
I am Omadara Mills for the Department of Information.
Have you ever thought about building a model of Tobago? Well, 106 residents recently got the opportunity to build a little Tobago, a model which is just 10 times smaller than the real island. The local community got the opportunity to be part of a policy-making team to address the impacts of climate change by building a 3-dimensional model of the island, the first to be done in the Caribbean. Here's Davia Chambers with more.
Tobagonians had the chance to get involved to identify policies and actions needed to reduce climate change on the island, but their Caribbean neighbours have not had that opportunity as yet. According to Senior Technical Officer at the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute, Neela Bob Prescott, there's little engaging of local community in Caribbean countries to prevent climate change. However, that is now changing, beginning with Tobago.
there has been little engagement of the local community in the formulation of these policies. The public themselves do not understand some of the issues concerning planning for adaptation to climate change, and the responses have been not coordinated and have not been really successful. And we know action is needed on the ground by people who are dealing with the impacts of climate change, who are trying to make a living.
Getting the grassroots involved in an event such as this is vital because they are the ones who are directly affected. Giacomo Rambaldi, Program Coordinator for the Technical Center for Agricultural and Rural Cooperation, says the model should not be seen as a map, but instead as a tool of effective communication.
I think that this kind of investment is money which is well invested, and the outcome rests in the hand of the local communities, which will be making the best use of it. The mission of CTA is to advance food security, increase prosperity, and support the sound natural resource management. And this activity fits perfectly within this. It creates a playing field where everybody has equal access to information. We all know that conflict is based on unequal access of information, one party knowing more than the other or having better access to information than another.
Secretary for the Division of Environment, Gary Melville, indicated that the model of Tobago is an added tool to carry out development initiatives on the island. He added that it's all about getting a more participatory approach to the way things are done.
If you look at some of what has happened in terms of coastal erosion in Tobago, and you look at the challenges we face sometimes with very severe droughts, very intense rainfall causing significant erosion, it means that we have to put in place a number of initiatives, and each of us as individuals have to take actions that would seek to mitigate those particular impacts. And the best way to get that achieved is by use of the local community.
According to Mr. Melville, his division is now expanding the community approach to reforestation, and this map will assist.
The persons in the community can now participate fully in determining how we go about that reforestation, and by participating in that approach and by being involved in it, they are more likely to buy into it and more likely to be supportive in terms of the carrying out implementation of those projects, that project. And therefore, it opens to us a whole range of possibilities in terms of our development trust in Tobago.
I'm Davia Chambers for the Department of Information.
Professional leaders must not only motivate others but also themselves. Founder of the non-profit organization Tobago Society for Young Professionals, Kenethia Douglas, shared this insight at the Youth Energized for Success Leadership Seminar. Omadara Mills has highlights of the participants' insight into the ways in which they can make themselves marketable and help define the future of Tobago's young professionals.
Under the theme, There's a Leader in Me, several young professionals came together to enhance their leadership qualities. Founder of the non-profit organization Tobago Society for Young Professionals, Kenethia Douglas, explained that being enthusiastic about giving back is one quality of a professional leader.
I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for other people, and that is what kept me motivated, because I know that the benefits that is going to be derived from me being motivating and following through on this plan of having this organization is bigger than me, and that I would be able to help others by what it is I am doing.
Director of the Youth Energized for Success program, Myrtle Luby, stated that while influencing others, leaders go through the daily process of achieving their own goals.
Successful people are people who have achieved excellence, who have defined their vision, they have established their goals, and irrespective of the obstacles, have committed themselves to their achievement.
Writing and speaking well are ways in which leaders maintain their professional image and marketability. This according to businesswoman and member of Surreptimus International Scarborough, Agnes Webb.
Be assertive. Don't shy away from saying what you want to say. Pick your words nicely and say them. It's important that when you write and how you express yourself it's understandable. It's in clear English. You don't have to write highfalutin language. Understand that. Simple is best.
The leadership seminar was a collaborative effort between the Business Development Unit and the Seroptimus International of Scarborough. The forum was the first in a series of leadership seminars which will provide executive coaching for young professionals. I am Umadara Mills for the Department of Information.
The teaching profession is losing its status. That was one of the warnings sounded at the recent Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association annual convention. This year's theme was Take a Stand for Teachers. Sophie Guillaume has more.
Madam Chairperson, fellow teachers, it gives me great pleasure to induct these new teachers into the teaching profession. Welcome to one of the oldest and greatest and most noble profession, the teaching profession.
While these teachers stood to be inducted, former Public Service Association President Jennifer Baptiste-Primus noted that people needed to take a stand for teachers as the profession is losing status in many parts of the world.
We hear it all the time that teachers are important, but there's a big gap between what the political leaders say and the harsh reality of the teachers' rights being violated. In some countries, it is not unusual for teachers to have to perform 2 and 3 jobs because they're living under the poverty line.
Advocating for the teachers, Tutor President Claudette Governor said teachers cannot live in 2012 on a 2008 salary and rallied the teachers to stand together.
Let us all commit to the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association to fight for better working conditions, resulting in better and improved education system. Colleagues, this is a challenge that will demand a clear commitment, unshakable and unmistakable resolve, but it is one that we can meet once we work together. Be alert for the calls to come out in your thousands. Nothing can divide us. No one must divide us.
President of the Primary Schools Association, REID, also called on the teachers to stand for upgrades and adequate staffing.
Just imagine, currently, we have one of our members who have to double as a principal and as a chief education coordinator all at the same time. So we need to have things like this straightened out so that the schools can function effectively and efficiently, and then we can start seeing some of the successes we wish to have.
PRO of the Tobago region of the Parent Teachers Association, Ian Robley, reminded the teachers of their importance as he encouraged them to persevere even when things seem rough. Assuring the teachers that his division is taking a stand for them, Secretary Alfred revealed plans of the creation of additional teaching and administrative posts in the island's secondary schools. The Secretary also announced plans for the relocation of Scarborough Secondary School, among other upgrades.
Those of you who have been to Scarborough Secondary and who are teaching there will recognize that the land to the back is slipping and slipping, and the school is cracking and cracking. It will also be a good idea. It will also be a good idea to ask for a portion of the said land to be reserved for the relocation of the Lambo Anglican Primary School. With respect to the reconstruction of the Scarborough RC School, $2 million have been allocated in the new budgetary allocation of the Division of Education for its construction. It should also be noted that an architect and user's brief is being prepared for the construction of a new school for the deaf. The Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport is awaiting revised plans for the extension of the Happy Haven School at Signal Hill.
Sophie Guillaume, Department of Information.
You can now send us your comments to information@tha.gov.tt or visit us at www.tha.gov.tt, or please see the bottom of your screen for more contact details. We're taking a short break, but when we come back, the Chief Secretary defends the THA's decision on the contentious bolt issue.
Erica Scarborough. My husband and I operate Uncle's Tire Shop. It's a very expensive machine. And I routine to them. I was called in. Now, this piece of machine is a machine that it takes off truck tires. It used to be manual work before. Listen, go there to the video and you will get finance. It's either they will, buy your equipment or give you the money to say, well, start your business, which is very good.
Redefining business, protecting Tobago's heritage.
Welcome back. The Tobago House of Assembly is once again clearing the air as it responds to questions on the bolt issue, which has come under close scrutiny. This build, own, lease transfer arrangement is to facilitate the building of the new headquarters for the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment.
Does the THA have the legal authority to enter into a bolt deal?
We asked Mrs. Margaret Thompson McDowell, and Mr. Pascal and I sat down with her for close to 2 hours. Mr. Pascal will tell you. We said, Mrs. Thompson McDowell, this is the process. We went through the process. I want you to tell me, are you comfortable and so on. At the end of the exercise, she said she was comfortable. We got our senior counsel, John Jeremy, to give us an thing. Mr. Pascal sent the documents to him. He said he was comfortable. We saw the opinion from the Hamill Smith and Company, which confirmed a decision on the decision about the legality of the bolt. And Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj knows more about this than a lot of people. Because one of the reasons why bolt was introduced in that time is because bolt was not considered by the IMF as borrowing. That was one of the reasons. Because the IMF, we had problems with balance of payments, and we wanted the construction to go ahead. And bolt was not considered as borrowing then, and bolt is not considered as borrowing now. We know what we did. We did with all the legal advice. We did within the parameters of the law and the regulations and the powers of the Tobago House of Assembly. And therefore, we have absolutely no problem with any investigation. We have no problem with any perusal of the documents. What we have a problem with is a government whose officials have indicated by their actions over the past couple of weeks, that they have come to a conclusion that in order for them to win the Tobago House of Assembly election, they got to ride this particular horse in a particular kind of way.
How was the price of the land being used determined?
Why did the chairman of the TOP, Mr. Lionel Coker, and the minority leader, Ashwa Jack, tell the island and the country that the property at Sherburne was bought at the cost of $300 per square foot, when they knew or ought to have known that the cost was approximately $100 per square foot, and the price paid by the Tobago House of Assembly was determined by the Valuation Division of the Ministry of Finance. I am certain you all remember that. The most expensive piece of real estate in Tobago. And they knew, because they said they had the document, that it was 3 separate parcels of land, each at an acre. That the $12 million that was spent, that we paid, was based on a valuation from the Valuation Division, not of the THA, of the Ministry of Finance. And they attempted to fool the people of Tobago. When we brought the proof, they stopped.
Why the sole selective process used?
This did not start, as some people say, with a situation where the company, by some miracle, thought that the assembly needed an agricultural. It didn't start like that at all. It started with an offer made to the Tobago House of Assembly for a building to be built by the owners on land which they owned at Sherburne and rented to the Tobago House of Assembly. It started off with 25,000 square feet. The Tobago House of Assembly said, listen, we are in a rental business for the longest while, and it is not comfortable for us. Because at the end of the exercise, all the people of Tobago end up with is a whole host of cancelled checks. So let us discuss another kind of issue. Now, bearing in mind, these are the people who own the land. And that is how the discussion started with a bolt arrangement where it's almost call it a lease to own if you want to make it simple.
Explain the 199-year lease at $10.
If we buy it from them for $12 million and we rent it back to them and let's say $1 million a year, they are putting the $1 million a year as part of their expenditure. And it means, therefore, you're going to be paying interest on that. Because remember, they are going to be borrowing all the money that they are going to be spending. So if you, in effect, give them a peppercorn rent, it means that there is limited interest. When you look at this document here, you see bridge interest on land costs reduced to 0. If that were not the case, we will have been paying bridge interest on the land cost and been paying interest on that land cost throughout. So this whole idea that they're talking about, we buy land at $12 million and rent it back and so on, people who understand how bolt arrangements operate will know that that is in effect to the advantage of the...
What is the cost to the THA?
Tobago House of Assembly, recognizing that it did not have the expertise, went to the person, if there's a man, if there's a Mr. Bolton to Trinidad and Tobago, it is Mr. Peter Ford from Project Specialists. And he is the person who sat down with the assembly officials and the contractors and negotiated. And it was a hard negotiation. Because it is that negotiation that brought the price down from the original of $192 million to what it is, $143 million. That was the first thing. It was Project Specialists that told the assembly, listen, rather than purchasing the land, rather than allowing the land to be part of the rental, purchase the land so that it does not become part of the whole financing process, and therefore you don't have to pay interest on it over the period of time. And based on the information that we have here, that could have saved the assembly anything like $20 odd million. So contrary to what a lot of people are talking about, saying that we in effect bought the land and sold it and gave it back at peppercorn rent, what they don't understand, or maybe what they understand but they don't want you to understand, is that the higher the rent that the people are paying, the higher the interest you'll pay.
What is the THA getting in this deal?
There are significant benefits to be gained from the bolt arrangement entered into by the THA with a special company Milshave Limited to build an administrative complex, according to Peter Ford, Managing Director of Project Specialists Limited of Chaguanas, Trinidad. Ford explained in an interview that the THA would not have to put out any money for the project. It will pay a fixed rate at the present market price of $15.61 per square foot per month over the 20-year period of the lease. The rate would not change as a result of inflation. In other words, you're paying $15.61 for the entire period. So 10 years down the road, when the rentals might have gone up by 50%, you're still paying $15.61. 20 years down the road, you finish paying, and eventually by that time, the rental for something like that might be $30. That is what he's talking about. The assembly will not be responsible for the external maintenance. The developer will take all the risk in the investment. In other words, all those challenges that we've had with the financial complex and so on, we don't have that. At the end of every 3-year period, the assembly, and I want you to read this very carefully. At the end of every 3-year period, that is Peter Ford saying it, not us. The assembly could capitalize the rent to the end of the lease period and pay off for the building. And at the end of the 20-year period, the property automatically be owned by the assembly. In other words, what is being said here and what is documented is that at the end of 20 years, the assembly gets the property with no additional payment. And it is in keeping with the document that came to us. This is the document that we approved. And at the bottom of the document, it says, monthly payment fixed for 20 years, after which entire facility transferred to THA at no additional further cost. In other words, that is how the assembly operates. The executive council signs off on a document, and it is left to people like the legal people and the administrative people to operationalize the decision of the Tobago House of Assembly. So this is what we approved. And I want us to understand that this is in effect supported by Mr. Peter Ford.
Is this a sweetheart deal for Milshave?
This document here is marked original. And this document is the original request made by the company when this particular arrangement was placed before us. This is the original. This is what came to the Executive Council after intensive negotiations lasting many months, and I'll get back to that in a little while. And what are the figures? The original request from the company was $192,442,550. What came to the Assembly and the Executive Council, and what the Executive Council would have signed off on, was $243,236,993. This is the document that came to us, and when you look at this document, you'll see that budgeted for the building cost is $99 million, and then you have all the other costs. But what is interesting in this budget, in this thing, is that it also gives the difference between what we finally negotiated and what the developers had asked. This, in effect, is a document that puts to rest this whole question of sweetheart deal. What this document shows is that it was a very tough negotiation. Let me give you an example. When NIPDEC was doing its work, NIPDEC was a government-sponsored agency. When NIPDEC was doing its work for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, NIPDEC's profit was 20% minimum. In fact, the government had a cap at 20% because they were wanting to go for more. This was brought down to 15%. And on this side, you would see all the areas where they reduced the 3.5 for project management and development overhead. They wanted 5, they got 3.5. Architecture, they wanted 4.5, they got 4. We talk about the bridging interest, reduced to 0, and so on and so forth.
What is the building to be used for?
It was the Assembly that made the decision, and this is one of the reasons why Mr. Sandy is here, because he was the Secretary at the time, and decided that Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing, and the Environment should, in fact, be the division. But they went further. They said, listen, because of where this place is located, the ideal location, there's no location like that available to the Assembly. Let us not just make it for the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing, and the Environment. Let us make it something that can be used by the entire Assembly. And that is why you will find that in addition to providing accommodation, and I think it could accommodate eventually anything like 500 workers, their facilities, and these are Assembly facilities for training, conferencing, various IT and so on. And you can see, if you want to look at it, 166 parking spaces, etc. In other words, this is not just a building for the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing, and the Environment. Based on the user brief that was presented, it was something for the entire Assembly.
And that's how we bring this week's edition of Let's Talk Tobago to a close. I'm Colleen Holder, and on behalf of all of us at the Department of Information, we leave you now with scenes from the THA's Thought Run and Cultural Show.
I wanted them openly, yes. The road big for parking, Eddie Jalopy, everybody, $11 a head. I tell them it's 11 bamboo instead. Anytime A bone crack is bamboo and police back.
I guess the mind, no bad mind can pull me down now.